Hello everybody and welcome to your Season 8 God Guide series. We're starting off where we left off, which is Camazotz. Our last one that we did was Cabrakan, so we're going to be starting off with Camazotz, and we're going to be taking this good old Cama boy right into the jungle. So right now, one of my favorite starts that you are going to see coming from jungles is going to be this BUMBAS Dagger Tier 2 boot start. For anybody that is not going to utilize mannequins super effectively or Eye of the Jungle super effectively, so aka your auto attackers, you're basically going to be getting the BUMBAS Dagger. It gives you an absolute ton of sustain, which is wonderful.
Hey.
And you're going to be able to get tier 2 boots. Now, if you're doing this tier 2 boot start, you're not going to have a Hand of the Gods. You're not going to have any potions for your sustain, so you're entirely relying on your jungle clear, which is fine. But make sure that your solo laner is going to start with you at the speed buff. The standard jungle start will have the jungler start with you, or excuse me, the solo laner start with you. So most of the time, you should be fine. There's some certain strategies where you have the solo laner start over at their blue buff, but if you're running this start, you really need them with you. So after we do speed, we run right to these back harpies. We don't stop and do that camp over there. If we stop and do that camp, the solo laner is gonna miss a ton of in-lane XP because those minions will start to die. At level 2, we are going to grab our leap ability. You can get your 1 here, but if you get your 1, you're going to be very susceptible to getting killed. You've got the boots for the movement speed, but in general, I always recommend getting your movement abilities second. So, you know, if you're Thoth, make sure you get your dash. If you're Cama, make sure you get your leap, etc. So with our BUMBAS Dagger, this means on Cama we are committing to a very farm build. There's nothing wrong with going a farm heavy build. But if you see somebody going into the mannequins and stuff, that means that they're going to be looking for a lot more early fights. So keep in mind when you're going against people right now, especially for the enemy junglers, if they've got that mannequins, that means they are looking for action. So watch out for the early ganks. Now, one thing right now that is really, really prominent and is separating the good junglers from the okay junglers is going to be invading camps.
Enemy spotted.
So right now, standardly, when these second waves of harpies spawn in the jungle, you want to be invading them every single time. The jungler that is getting those invades off is the one in the better spot. Oh, we're gonna grab a quick little kill underneath there, and when you go and invade the enemy jungle's jungle, you're gonna get a quick opportunity also to gank the solo lane right there. I can path back into the middle lane, or I can get a quick little gank on the solo if I feel like there is a potential kill there. One of the really nice things about this start as well is it's gonna let us get that full Warrior Tabi online ASAP. And movement speed is really nice on this map for a multitude of reasons. 1, movement speed in general is just a good stat. 2, the map is bigger, which means it takes us longer to get places. So the earlier we can get our boots online, the more viable it is for us to actually stop our farming and do some ganks. All right, now that we've got our Warrior Tabi, we're gonna start working into a Jotun's Wrath. I really like Jotun's Wrath right now. It's a very early game style for our ability-based junglers. So your Camazotzes love this, your Ravens love this, Thanatos tends to really like this item right now. You're gonna get 20% CDR. Remember that Jotun's Wrath has actually gotten buffed since the last season, so it gives 50 physical power now. 50 physical power really lets you go for these early fights, and it a lot of the times makes up for the fact that you've gone BUMBAS instead of a more aggressive early game item. So you can see right now I am running right into their jungle. He only has tier 2 boots right now, so I theoretically do have the better fight. especially if I land right too and he misses his scythe. So right now in the jungle, you have to play with a lot of confidence. I think the jungle this season is going to be very scary for a lot of people because half of the jungle right now is just W keying forward, and you have to be confident because you want to run into their jungle and you keep taking some. Luckily for Camazotz, he's actually pretty safe between his ultimate and his leap. His leap does have immunity frames on it. This means you're going to be able to play very aggressive, and even if you do get caught out, you should be able to get away. This leap is a nice distance. It will go over walls, and while you're actually in that leap, you do have those immunity frames, so keep that in mind. You can get grabbed by a Wheelix, of course, so don't be jumping near a Wheelix, but you already know that. For our level order on Camazotz, we're grabbing our 2 and maxing that out first. This is our main PvE and PvP ability. Of course, we want to make sure when we're PvEing that we're using it on the big mob. That's going to give us our passive effect, where we get that extra life steal and healing received from the vampirism. And of course, it's good in terms of just general clearing capabilities. For the ability that I'm going to level up second, that is going to be our ultimate. So we're going to grab our ulti whenever we can. Then my 3, and finally my Devour. So I like to get that Devour at level 2, but I tend to max it last. In the jungle, prefer to use my Devour as mostly a getaway skill. So I'm going to rank up my 1. That way I can utilize it offensively. And then my 3 last. So that for the level order there on Kama, that is going to be 2, 4, 1, 3. Now, if you're doing a solo lane Kama, people tend to level up the 3 before the 1, and that is because you can get a lot of sustain off of those minions in the lane, and so you can really utilize it as an offensive ability there. But in the jungle, much less likely for us.
That's too bad.
So right now you can see that our priority above all else is just going to be on actually farming. That's kind of a decision that we have made by getting that BUMBAS dagger. Get ours a little bit closer to Jones Wrath, and we're going to start buying wards. Now, when you're a jungler, your wards should mostly be in the enemy jungle or your own jungle. So if you are getting counter jungled a lot, you're finding that a lot of your harpies are getting invaded. Maybe it's their jungler, maybe it is their solo laner that's all up in your business. You can throw down defensive wards on your own buffs. But for the most part, what I like to do is I like to put aggressive wards into the enemy jungle. That was a 1 HP flipping Thanatos. He is so low. But there's an Ares here. He missed his chain, so I'm actually having an opportunity to go pretty aggressive here on this Ares. Thana is going to still be nearby because he's going to be over on those bat camps. I've got my ult up. I'm actually just going to sit here on the red for now. That's the Discordia ult down. Got to make sure it doesn't hit me. I'm just going to try to dodge some abilities. I'm going to take this red. I don't even mind having it. And I'm going to keep this pressure up. I'm going to throw down my 2 on that Discordia, which is going to give me that heal as I come back. And then try to use my ultimate to get away. Thanatos was coming for me there at the very end, so I'm going to blink his blink to make sure he can't. And I'm going right back to farming. So one really hard part for all roles right now is going to be determining the appropriate time to back. Backing in general, very hard right now because there's so much farm. So right now I'm going to back because I'm going to transfer over to the right-hand side of the jungle. And so before I go over there, I'm going to go finish up my Jotuns and make sure that I've got that increased CDR for the next time that I use my ultimate. Now I'm going to transition back over to that right side jungle. So I made the decision right there. Hey, I can finish a whole item. It's a good time for me to back. You're basically never going to have a time on the map where all the farm is down. It's just not the way that this season works. So you're trying to make a decision based off of, okay, I really am at 1 HP, I have to back. Or, hey, I can finish an item. I think this is going to be an efficient back because now I'll be able to clear the camps faster, whatever the case may be. So just know that there's never going to be an opportunity where you're like, okay, if I just do hashtag one more wave, then it's going to be okay. It's never going to be okay. There's always going to be farm for you. So I'm going to go walk up into their jungle. I see that there is a Thanatos right here, but there's also an Ares. And there's a Bologna. I'm gonna throw down a ward over here on the blue. I might get ultied by the Ares if I stick around for too long. So I'm gonna slow that Bologna down with my 2 and waddle on away. Gonna keep healing up over here off these minions and get farm while this fight is breaking out. And then I'm gonna go see if I can find any stragglers in this fight. Games right now this season are very short. So the way that you should be thinking about the game is a little bit changed compared to usual. So previously, 9 minutes in earlier seasons, this would have been considered the early game, right? Not in season 8. We are already into the mid-game portion. So really the early game right now in Smite is the first 5 minutes. Then about 5 to 15 minutes is the mid game, and anything after 15 minutes is already the late game. So this will influence kind of the way that you think about playing the game, just in terms of like rotations and ganks for you junglers, support players out there, those types of people that really need to be involved with team fights. So keep in mind that once the 5-minute mark is already over, it's basically already the mid game. So you're liable to start getting 3 and 4 man team fights as early as that 5-minute marker. So keep your eyes on the map and make sure that you're looking out to make sure you're participating in those fights. Now, another thing too, generally for the jungle, if you are going for a gank and something goes wrong, right? You're gonna go for a gank and it's not going quite the way you wanted it to, but you're sticking around because you think maybe if you stick around like another 10, 15 seconds, maybe you can do a loop-de-loop, come back for another kill. In general right now, if a gank goes wrong, just get out of dodge. If you stick around too long just waiting for that one kill, you're gonna miss out on so much farm on all the other places in the map. It's not gonna be a good trade, even if you do end up getting that kill. So for my third item this match, I am transitioning myself into a Hydra's Lament. I really like this build on all ability-based junglers right now. So whether you're a Camazotz, a Thanatos, a Robin, whatever, I think that you can run this build on any of these characters as a nice standard little jungle build. So we get that Warrior Tabite for the power and the movement speed early. Then we get our Jotun's Wrath for the early 20% CDR. Okay. After that, I'm going into a Hydra's. Hydra's is going to stack really well with the late game of where this build is going. So we get that bonus damage on our auto from the Hydra's proc, right? But then we're also going to upgrade our starter item into the BUMBAS hammer, which also gives us increased damage on the auto. So we're gonna have the bonus damage from the auto from Hydra's and the bonus damage from our auto from the BUMBAS hammer.
Enemy missing.
Not only that, this build is going to have a lot of CDR. We're actually gonna be overcapping with 50% once we have that Jotun's, Hydra's, and BUMBAS hammer online. That's okay. There's a lot of cooldown in season 8, just like there was a lot of cooldown in season 7. Overcapping by a little bit on something like cooldown, not gonna be the end of the world. In fact, that full cooldown is going to be extremely useful for us. So for those that don't know what BUMBAS hammer does exactly, I'm gonna go ahead and show you. So BUMBAS hammer is gonna be kind of a defensive item. You see we get health, mana, some percent penetration, which is nice, and 20% CDR. But what's really crucial here is the passive. After we land an ability, right? So we use an ability, bada bing, bada boom. Our next auto attack is gonna do 80 bonus damage. Plus it is going to reduce our cooldown by 1 second for all of our abilities, and it's going to heal us for 5% of our maximum health. So that means when we go in with our full CDR, right, this ability is already on a second cooldown. I 2, I auto. I 1, I auto. I 3, I auto. This is already back up within 3 seconds. 3-second cooldown on your vampire bats if you do that perfectly. This strategy is exactly what you should be looking for on all the ability-based junglers right now. It's absolutely nuts. So I'm going to dive right here in the mid lane. I don't have to be afraid of that Discordia at all. I don't have to be afraid of her tower. I know that I have my ultimate up. Camazotz, one of the premier tower divers in Smite. The reason why he's so good at diving towers is because you get to use a blink to go into the fight. And then you have your leap to get away. Plus, you also have your ultimate to get away. Keep in mind, when you are in Camazotz ultimate, you are CC immune. And you are untargetable. So when you are in the air swooping down, you cannot be hit by nothing. So, ooh, really good steal right there from the Woojer. So you're going to have a great time diving in and past towers. Thanatos ult's about to land. I'm going to keep my eye on him and go back to farming. So never be afraid on those tower dives. If you see somebody at like half HP, as long as you're landing your abilities consistently, you're going to be in a good spot. In that regard, Camazotz plays a lot like a Thanatos. A lot of Camazotz comes down to hitting this vampire bat. If you can hit the vampire bat, you're probably going to be a good Camazotz. Much like the way Thanatos is with his scythe. If you can land Thanatos' scythe, you're probably going to be in a pretty good spot. Same exact situation. So if you need to practice with anything on Kama, it's getting used to hit his 2. It does kind of have a strange firing time. It's got a little bit of a weird delay on it with the cast. So just make sure you're getting used to exactly when it's going to come out of your character so you can start hitting those consistently. For my next item, we really have 2 options here. I myself am going to take this into a Brawler's Beat Stick. Brawler's Beat Stick is great here. So is a Crusher, depending on the comps that you're going against. Crusher gives you a little bit of attack speed, which you might not think to yourself, why would I want any attack speed? But it actually can be nice because we've got these Hydra's procs and these and the BUMBAS hammer proc. It can actually be nice to have a little bit of attack speed. For the most part, we're just going to be using our auto attack cancels. That means ability auto, ability auto, ability auto. So it's not the end of the world if we don't have any attack speed. And I actually want some anti-heal for this team. It might seem a little weird to have anti-heal against this team. It's like, hey, they don't have like a hell or nothing. Why are we so concerned about the healing? The reason why I'm concerned about the healing is, one, they have a Thanatos. He sustains up a lot. Keep in mind the anti-heal will reduce like Thanatos scythe, Thanatos passive. They've also got Bologna. She's got the whip capabilities, and he's also got a Death Toll. They have an Woojer, who I presume is going to get some sort of lifesteal ability at some point. Ares is giving out HP 5 to everybody. All of these types of things. And so having healing reduction is just always good. And in general, let's be real, most of your games are going to have some form of sustain in them. While healing is not necessarily the meta anymore, so you're not just going to see like... You're not just going to see like 12 healers, you know, on the enemy team. It's not going to be stacked with a Hell and an Afro and all that stuff. But it's still good to be in the habit, especially for something like this guide. I want to make sure that people still recognize anti-heal is important. So in the last big Season 8 patch, anti-heal items got reduced in their effectiveness from usually about 40% to 30%. This has stopped a lot of people from buying anti-heal. Please, please, please do not stop buying anti-heal. It is still one of the best stats in the game. Make sure you're buying it. Even if they just have a lot of self-sustain like a Thanatos, it's still great bang for its buck. Just because they added in that new debuff, that brawling debuff, so you see not brawling, your healing taken has been reduced. That reduces your healing by 30%. Brawling means actually attacking an enemy god. And so while I'm not attacking an enemy god, you have that debuff on you. That does not mean, oh good, there's anti-heal already in the game, I don't need to buy one. It means, okay, they won't probably fully heal while they're out of combat, but while they're in combat, their healing is still going to be just as annoying. Rod of Asclepius, CAD Shield, still super good items, so make sure that you're buying the anti-heal when you need it, which is going to be more often than not. The Divine Ruins, the Brawlers, all of it. Now for Camazotz in our matchups, Camazotz really doesn't have any bad matchups. He's one of the premier 1v1ers in Smite. You can see even going against a god like Thanatos, who's a super good 1v1er. I'm not struggling that much, and that's because I'm prioritizing my farming and then ganking when I have the opportunity to. I'm about to get this level 20 at about the 19-minute marker. As a jungler, if your game is going well, you should be looking to get that level 20 under 20 minutes. You're one of the only roles that can farm this fast in the game. So make sure that you're utilizing the fact that you can get this massive XP lead, okay? As soon as we hit level 20, we are going to be ranking up our BUMBAS hammer. This also brings up a little bit of a meta spot. When you're getting close to 20, start saving your money. All of the starter items leveling up are the best items in the game, whether you're in the duo lane all the way over to the solo lane. So make sure that you're consciously thinking right when you're turning about level 18, 19, like, hey, I'm about to get level 20. I should be saving my gold. That way I can buy as soon as I get level 20 and upgrade my starter item. Now, my goal right here is I'm going to go in towards the Woojer. I know that he is pretty big right now, so I want to put a lot of pressure on him. Make sure I'm utilizing all of my damage down here in the back line. I should be able to kind of hit him with my second attack and then get away with my third one. Now, I still see the Ares over here. I don't have my blink up anymore, but they should be able to kind of go put down this Ares. They don't even need my help. I'm going to put down a deep sentry so I can see them as they come into the jungle. It actually looks like Ares is still alive right now. So I'm going to full heal myself off of this red, but I'm going to stick around. I don't have to be super afraid. Actually, I think they know that I'm here. I'm pretty sure they got that worded, so I'm going to start backing up. They're going to start heading over towards this gold Fury. I'm just going to throw down my 2 on the Oni Fury. That's going to come back to me and give me a little bit of heal. When it's all done, there you can see I kind of suck up that little heal. Got a couple of HP off that. After our Brawler's Beat Stick, I'm going to bring myself into a Blood of Forge. They're actually coming this way, so I'm going to zone for my team right now. I'm going to try to keep out this Ares. He's not going to go. He's going to the mid lane, so we're good. So I'm going to take myself into a Blood Forge. That's going to really allow me to abuse this XP lead that I have right now. At the end of the game, on junglers, you can still get the items like a Mantle of Discord. Those are still totally viable, so I want you to keep those in mind. But for the most part right now, in the jungle, you're building basically full damage. You still have those hybrid items. You have the Void Shields, the Anchiles, the Cad Shields of the world. But I'm finding that the junglers that I'm most afraid of as I play other roles like mid and ADC, the junglers that I'm most afraid of are the ones that are going around one-shotting me right now. So those full damage junglers can be really hard to deal with as a mid laner. Speaking of mid laners that have a hard time dealing with Camazotz, this Discordia is a great example of a good pick for me to go into. So Discordia's getaway skill leaves a little stealth pool, but Camazotz's one sees through stealth. So remember, when you catch your Echo right here, you can actually gain vision of that god for 15 seconds. So if they're a stealth god, whether that be a Loki, a Morrigan, a Discordia, you actually have that counter stealth built into your kit, but you do have to actually catch the Echo. The Echo is that stuff that pops off of your ability right there. So now my goal is I'm just going in and I'm auto-attacking. I want to make sure that I'm auto-attacking between all of my abilities in order to maximize my damage output right now. I need to be careful that I don't get ultied by this Ares, but I do want to stick around. That's a great pull from our Sylvanas. You can see my cooldown's already back up. There's no stopping the CDR once you have that BUMBAS hammer online. You basically have absolutely no cooldowns until you can W key right into the enemy opponent, and now we should be able to at least get one Phoenix down. So make sure once you have the Hydras, once you have the BUMBAS hammer online, ability number 1, auto. Ability number 2, auto. Ability number 3, auto. You gotta make sure you're getting those auto attacks in between them. On Kama, you shouldn't have that hard of a job doing that. You should be able to get yourself pretty close to the target because your 2 is going to be that slow, and you've got a lot of gap closing with your blink, your 3, and your ultimate. For your actives, of course, nothing has changed really. This is a little risky. Nothing has really changed since the last season. You are still going
On my way
to get your blink and your beads, standardly getting your blink as your first active for the aggression, and then getting your bead second. If you're going against a really high CC comp, particularly if you're on a god that does not have a CC immune ulti, then you can grab that beads first.
Awesome.
So you'll see that most of the time on Camazotz, I'm using my ultimate to either last hit and get away or strictly get away. This is basically what you want to be doing on Cama. Part of your livability is just being able to ulti out of situations. So I don't use it in a strictly aggressive manner very often.
My magic is beyond compare.
I like to use my blink and my dash as my strictly aggressive. And then if somebody's about to die and I feel like I can go ahead and get that last hit with my first bit of my ulti, or if I need to use it for some CC immunity, I'm gonna try to jump back on this Thana, hit him with an auto, then a 2, bada bang, bada boom. I can see I got the BUMBAS proc up, so I'm walking right on into these guys. I'm gonna switch my target over to Woojer. I'm gonna jump on top of him, use my 1. I'm gonna use my beads right here to make sure I get my abilities back up. I'm trying to use that BUMBAS heal as much as possible, and I am gonna go down right there. But hopefully our Thought and our Kukulkan can get those clean up kills. So right now you can see this is almost a strictly damage build, and I was sustaining like crazy right there because my abilities kept coming up, because I get sustained off my 2 and my 3, because I'm getting sustained off my BUMBAS, and my abilities are just coming up lickety split. Now I'm gonna rank up my beads and my blink right here, and I'm gonna grab myself a potion of power. You will find in most of your games that you are not going to get towards your 6th item like you used to. So previously in Smite, it was not uncommon at all to get your potion of speed online, sell your boots, get a 6th item. That almost never happens anymore. Almost all your games are going to end before the 30-minute marker when you really started to get to that point. The majority of my games end between 20 to 25 minutes right now. So a little bit back more into the matchups. The god you're looking to go against on Camazotz, he does great against stealth characters because of his 1, and he does great 1v1 as long as you have the confidence to go into the enemy jungle. So any enemy jungler you're basically going to be fine against. Maybe a notable shout out to a Wheelix because she can pull you from your 3, which can be problematic, and also a shout out to Arachne because Arachne's little spiders can actually block some of your abilities, which can screw up your 1v1 potential. Other than that, 1v1, he is always going to do great. Ares can be annoying, you know, because of the chain crippling me, but honestly, because I've got the CC immunity built into my ultimate, I honestly don't mind going against cripples that much on Camazotz, as long as I'm not too far behind or something. All right, a blink for a blink right there. So you want to pick them into stealth characters or any time that you want to play very aggressive. I think Cama actually does very well in this meta because so much of it for the jungle is just W king into their jungle and being confident that you can win that 1v1. Good damage right there onto Woojer, and this is going to be the end of the game right at about that standard length of time. So if we would have theoretically had a game go long enough where we would have sold our boots for a 6th item, I oftentimes, even though it overcaps on CDR, like to get the Mantle of Discord just to have the safety from it. If you needed more penetration, you could go a Titan's Bane. A Titan's Bane gives you a bunch of pen right now. You also have the options of going a little bit more specific hybrid items. A Void Shield will give you some aura pen for your team. Maybe you've got a very heavy physical team. You've also got Anchile if you want to continue to dive onto the backlines. Maybe their mage is giving you problems. Well, now you're blinking onto him the second he uses his ability on you. He gets silenced. He's got to bead your silence. Now he can't bead some of your other stuff. So those give you some options to open up, guys. And that is our Camazotz Season 8 Jungle Guide. Our first guide back here in Season 8, and there'll be lots more where that came from. We'll be right back on our guide schedule, and tomorrow it'll be Cerberus, I think, comes after Camazotz.